You're ready to level up your thinking? Today's deep dive is all about philosophical essays.
Ooh, fun.
We've got a stack of sources,
Woo.
like Martinich's philosophical writing.
Oh, yeah.
Some super detailed notes.
Uh-huh.
A peek into the history of philosophical writing.
Interesting.
Even a syllabus.
What? No way.
Yeah. For an actual college course.
Cool.
PHIL 211.
Wow.
To be exact. Plus some extra articles on things like slowness as a virtue and rhetoric.
It's quite a collection.
It is.
And it all points to one exciting goal.
Which is?
Giving you the tools to not just understand philosophy, but to engage with it.
Okay, so full disclosure. Philosophy can sound kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
But imagine if you had the ability to dissect arguments.
Yeah.
Build your own rock-solid reasoning. And even navigate all that academic ethics stuff in the digital age.
That's a lot.
That's what we're going for here.
And don't worry, we'll break it all down. Yeah.
In a way that makes sense.
Awesome.
Let's start with the heart of the matter.
Okay.
What even is a philosophical essay?
Right, because it's not just like writing down whatever pops into your head, right?
Right.
There's a specific kind of thinking involved.
Absolutely.
Right.
Martinich?
Yeah.
And our other sources emphasize that a philosophical essay is all about building a strong, clear argument.
Okay.
But it's more than just stating facts or opinions.
Okay.
It's about critically engaging with ideas, dissecting them, and using logic and reason to support your claims.
So it's less about what you think and more about how you think.
Exactly.
And how well you can back it up.
Exactly.
With logic and reasoning.
And how you engage with the arguments of others.
Oh, okay.
Philosophical writing is a conversation, a debate, a search for truth.
Ooh.
Through rigorous reasoning.
I love a search for truth.
Yeah, it reminds me of this quote from one of our sources.
Okay.
Philosophical writing is a pursuit of truth. It requires intellectual honesty and a willingness to subject your own views to scrutiny.
Right.
That's powerful stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that focus on truth-seeking underscores the importance of logic in philosophical arguments.
Okay. Speaking of logic, I've always been a little fuzzy on some of the key terms.
Right.
Like validity, soundness, and cogency. Lay it on me.
All right, let's break them down.
Okay.
Validity focuses on the structure of an argument.
Okay.
It's about whether the conclusion follows logically from the premises, regardless of whether those premises are actually true.
So I could have a perfectly logical argument that's completely wrong because it's based on false information.
That's exactly what validity means.
Okay.
A valid argument can have a false conclusion if the premises are false.
Tricky.
Yeah.
So that's where soundness comes in.
That's where soundness comes in.
Okay, so soundness is like a double check on the facts.
Precisely.
Gotcha.
A sound argument is both valid and has true premises.
Yeah.
It's like having a solid recipe and using fresh ingredients.
Okay.
You're guaranteed a good outcome.
So a sound argument leads to a guaranteed true conclusion.
You got it. But there's one more layer. Cogency.
Ooh, tell me more about cogency.
Okay.
It sounds important.
The cogent argument is sound. Plus, it's presented in a clear and persuasive way.
Okay.
It's not enough to be right.
Yeah.
You have to make your argument understandable and convincing to your audience.
So you could have a valid sound argument, but if it's buried in jargon or poor structure, it won't be effective.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Cogency is where rhetoric and clear writing come into play. It's about presenting your ideas in a way that engages your audience and persuades them of the strength of your reasoning.
Okay, so we've got the truth-seeking mission.
Yes.
The logic.
Clear communication.
Right.
What about the structure of a philosophical essay itself?
Okay.
Is it like a free-for-all? Or is there a specific format to follow?
Good question.
Yeah, okay.
Our sources, especially Martinich, are very clear that a good philosophical essay follows a specific structure.
Okay.
It's not just about rambling on about your ideas.
Yeah.
There's a framework that helps you present your arguments effectively.
Okay, so I'm guessing it's more than just beginning, middle, and end.
That's the basic skeleton, yes.
Okay.
But Martinich outlines a more detailed 5-segment structure.
Okay.
An introduction.
Yeah.
The main argument. Demonstrating the argument's validity.
Gotcha.
Addressing potential objections. And a conclusion
5 segments.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot more complex than the 5-paragraph essays I remember from high school.
It is more complex.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he even mentions that these elements can be embedded within each other.
What does that mean?
That's what makes this structure so fascinating. While you have these 5 core segments, they don't always have to appear in a rigid order.
Oh, okay.
You might weave them together, embed one within another, depending on the flow of your argument.
So it's a flexible framework that you can adapt to fit your specific topic and argument.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Oh.
How you choose to arrange these elements, how you transition between them, how you emphasize certain points over others.
Okay.
That's where the art of philosophical writing shines through.
Speaking of art, let's talk about the actual process of composing this philosophical masterpiece.
Okay.
Our notes and Martinich have some pretty specific advice on how to approach the writing process.
They do.
Yeah.
And one thing they both emphasize is that writing is an iterative process.
Okay.
It's not about sitting down and cranking out a perfect essay in one go. It's about drafting, revising, and refining your ideas over time.
Okay, so no shame in messy first drafts.
Absolutely not.
Good.
In fact, embracing the messiness is crucial.
Okay.
Martinich even suggests outlining after writing your first draft as a way to check your structure and ensure your argument flows logically.
Wait, outlining after writing.
Yeah.
That feels backwards.
I know.
Isn't the outline supposed to guide your writing?
It can.
Yeah.
But sometimes reverse engineering your own thought process can be incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
If you can create a clear outline from your existing draft, you know your argument is coherent.
Okay.
If not, it's a sign you need to rework some sections.
That's an interesting approach.
It is.
So outline, draft, revise. It's all part of the process.
It is.
What about specific tips for crafting the argument itself?
One key piece of advice that comes up repeatedly is the importance of a clear, debatable thesis statement.
Okay.
This isn't just a general topic. It's a specific, focused claim that you'll be arguing for in your essay.
So instead of writing about ethics in the digital age, you'd need something more focused.
You would.
Like, the use of AI writing tools undermines the development of critical thinking skills in students.
That's a much stronger starting point.
Okay.
It's debatable, it's specific, and it sets the stage for a compelling argument.
Okay. I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. You've got the argument, the structure, the writing process.
Right.
What about style?
Okay.
What makes philosophical writing stand out from, say, a novel or a poem?
One word. Clarity.
Clarity.
Martinich stresses this again and again.
Yeah.
Use precise language.
Okay.
Avoid jargon.
So no trying to sound super smart with big words no one understands.
Exactly. The goal is to convey your ideas effectively.
Yeah.
Not to impress people with your vocabulary.
Right.
And remember, grammar matters.
Okay.
Clear grammatical writing reflects clear thinking.
Makes sense. Now, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, or rather the AI in the computer.
Right.
Our syllabus and notes get pretty serious about academic integrity.
Yes.
Especially with AI writing tools becoming so prevalent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating and challenging issue, isn't it?
It is.
We're navigating a whole new landscape of philosophical writing in the digital age.
Okay, so plagiarism is an obvious no-no.
Yes.
But what about using AI to write an essay? Is that ethical?
According to our sources, it's a clear violation of academic integrity.
So it's like pretending you baked a cake when you actually bought it from the store.
Exactly.
So,
You're taking credit for someone else's work, or in this case, a machine's work. It defeats the purpose of education, which is to learn, grow, and develop your own critical thinking skills.
Right. It's about engaging with your own thoughts.
Yes.
Wrestling with those complex ideas and finding your own voice.
Exactly.
Right.
That's something AI simply can't replicate.
Yeah.
AI can generate text that mimics human language, but it lacks the depth of understanding, the critical analysis, and the nuanced argumentation that characterize true philosophical writing.
So while AI can be a useful tool, it's important to use it responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, don't let it do the thinking for you.
Oh, well said.
Thanks.
Now let's shift gears and take a look at that college syllabus.
Okay.
PHIL 211.
Yes, tell me more about PHIL 211.
It's built around Martinich's book,
right,
which makes sense.
Yeah.
But what's intriguing is the structure of the course itself.
It seems like a really engaging way to learn about philosophical writing.
It does.
Yeah.
It's structured around weekly modules,
Okay.
each focusing on a specific aspect of philosophical writing, and there's a heavy emphasis on active learning and engagement.
And a whopping 25% of the grade is based on discussion boards.
That's huge. That's huge.
It highlights the importance of dialogue and interaction in this course.
Right.
It's not just about passively absorbing information,
Yeah.
but about actively engaging with ideas, debating with your peers, and constructing your own understanding.
That sounds right up our listeners' alley.
Yeah.
As a learner, they're all about actively seeking knowledge and engaging in discussions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the assignments themselves.
Yeah.
Journals, drafts, peer reviews, even a final argumentative essay.
Right.
All align perfectly with what we've learned about the process of philosophical writing.
And don't forget that unique twist.
What's that?
Students have to create PowerPoint presentations to summarize their final essays.
It's a great way to bring together different modes of communication and to think about how to present complex ideas visually.
It's like taking all those ingredients you've carefully prepared
and arranging them into a beautiful final presentation.
I love that analogy. It really captures the essence of what we're talking about here.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've talked about the what, the why, and the how of philosophical essay writing. But before we move on, I want to touch on one more source that really caught my eye.
Okay.
The article on rhetoric is synonymous with empty speech. It seems to have a pretty negative view of rhetoric.
That's a common misconception, but it's important to understand the context. In that particular source, the author is critiquing a specific type of rhetoric that prioritizes style over substance, using manipulative language to obscure or distort the truth.
So it's not about abandoning persuasive language altogether, but about using it ethically and effectively to enhance communication.
Exactly.
Okay.
As Martinich points out, good philosophical writing balances logic and rhetoric. It's about using persuasive language responsibly and in service of clarity and truth.
So it's okay to use metaphors, analogies, and other rhetorical devices. As long as they're clarifying and strengthening your arguments.
Correct.
Not distracting from them.
Precise.
Gotcha. Think of it as adding spices to your dish. Used judiciously.
Yes.
They can enhance the flavor.
Right.
But too much can overpower the main ingredients.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got the logic, the structure, the clarity, and the responsible use of rhetoric.
Yes.
Where do we go from here?
Well, let's dive deeper into those detailed notes you mentioned.
Okay.
They offer some incredibly valuable insights into the core components of philosophical writing. From understanding different types of arguments to recognizing those sneaky logical fallacies that can trip us up.
Ooh, logical fallacies. Those are always fun to spot.
They are.
I think we've all fallen prey to them at some point.
We have. And those notes offer some great advice on how to avoid common mistakes in argumentation. They even provide specific tips on how to present your arguments effectively within the structure of your essay.
So it's like having a secret weapon to combat those argumentative pitfalls and elevate your essay to the next level.
Exactly.
Cool.
And speaking of elevating your essay, we can't forget about the importance of precision and clarity in language. Martinich has some great advice on how to define key terms, use examples effectively, and avoid those tricky category mistakes that can muddle your thinking.
Category mistakes?
Yeah.
Those sound intriguing.
They are. And understanding how to avoid them can make a big difference in the clarity and coherence of your writing.
I'm definitely curious to learn more about those. But before we go down that rabbit hole, I think it's time to take a break and let our listener digest all this amazing information.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
But there's still much more to explore. So grab a cup of coffee, stretch your legs, and get ready for part 2. Where we'll delve deeper into the nuances of philosophical argumentation and the art of crafting compelling prose.
Welcome back.
I'm ready to unpack those detailed notes we mentioned.
Okay. They offer some fascinating insights into the nitty-gritty of philosophical writing.
Okay, let's get into the details.
All right.
What jumped out at you as particularly helpful?
One thing that struck me is how these notes break down different types of arguments, like deductive and inductive reasoning.
Right. Those are terms I've heard thrown around, but could use a refresher on.
Well, deductive arguments aim for conclusive proof. If the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. It's like a watertight logical structure.
So if I say, all humans are mortal.
Socrates is human. Therefore, Socrates is mortal.
Yes.
That's deductive reasoning.
Exactly.
Okay.
The conclusion is guaranteed by the truth of the premises.
Okay.
Inductive arguments are a bit different.
How so?
They rely on probabilities and evidence to support their conclusions.
Okay, so it's more about building a strong case.
Yes.
Based on observations and patterns.
Precisely.
Okay.
For instance, every swan I've ever seen is white.
Okay.
Therefore, all swans are probably white.
Interesting.
It's a strong argument based on the evidence. But it's always possible to find a black swan that disproves the conclusion.
So deductive arguments are about certainty?
Yes.
And inductive arguments are about probability.
You got it.
Got it.
And understanding the difference is crucial for evaluating arguments effectively.
Now, those notes also mention something about logical fallacies.
Oh, yeah.
Those are always fun to talk about.
They are. Fallacies are those sneaky errors in reasoning.
Okay.
That can make an argument seem convincing on the surface, but fall apart under scrutiny.
Oh, I know those.
Like
the classic ad hominem attack. Attacking the person making the argument instead of the argument itself.
Exactly. That's a common one.
Yeah.
Or the slippery slope fallacy, where you claim that one action will inevitably lead to a series of increasingly negative consequences.
Right, like if we ban plastic straws, next thing you know, the government will be controlling everything we eat and drink.
A bit dramatic, perhaps?
Or a bit dramatic.
Right. And understanding these fallacies can help you spot weak arguments. And construct stronger ones yourself.
So it's like having a toolkit for dissecting arguments.
Yes.
And building your own bulletproof reasoning.
Precisely.
Awesome.
And these notes go beyond identifying fallacies. They offer practical advice on presenting arguments effectively within the structure of your essay.
Like how to organize your thoughts so they flow logically.
Exactly. They stress the importance of a clear thesis statement, a well-organized structure that guides the reader through your reasoning, and a compelling conclusion that ties everything together.
It's like building a house. You need a strong foundation, solid walls, a well-designed layout, and a roof that ties everything together.
I like that analogy.
Thanks.
And just as a well-built house is both functional and aesthetically pleasing, a good philosophical essay is both logically sound and stylistically engaging.
Speaking of style, Martinich have a lot to say about writing clearly and persuasively.
He does.
He's a big advocate for precision in language.
He is.
Right.
He stresses the importance of defining key terms, especially those that have technical or specialized meanings in philosophy.
So don't assume your reader knows all the jargon.
Exactly. Define your terms as if you're explaining them to someone who's encountering them for the first time. It's all about clarity.
Makes sense.
Yep.
What about examples? Are those helpful in philosophical writing?
They can be.
Okay.
But Martinich cautions against relying on them too heavily. Examples should be used to illustrate abstract concepts. Not to replace rigorous analysis or become the main focus of the essay.
Right. It's like using spices in cooking. A little can enhance the flavor. But too much can overpower the dish.
A perfect analogy.
Thanks.
Now, Martinich also discusses something called category mistakes. Which can be a bit tricky. But are important to understand.
Category mistakes.
Yes.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
A category mistake happens when you try to apply a concept or attribute to something that it doesn't logically belong to. It's like saying the number 3 is hairy or my sadness is rectangular. Numbers don't have hair. And sadness doesn't have a shape.
I get it.
You do.
It's about mixing up categories that don't logically fit together.
Exactly. And it's a common error in reasoning not just in philosophy, but in everyday life.
Okay.
For example, you might hear someone say, the universe is conscious.
Okay.
That's a category mistake because consciousness, as we understand it, is a property of living beings, not inanimate objects, like the universe.
So it's important to be mindful of the categories we use to organize our thoughts and to make sure we're not creating illogical combinations.
Precisely.
Gotcha. Yeah. Avoiding category mistakes is crucial for clear and coherent writing.
It is.
It demonstrates that you understand the logical relationships between concepts.
Yeah.
And that you're using language carefully.
Okay. Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. Yeah.
The challenge of writing in the digital age, with AI becoming so sophisticated, it's a whole new ballgame for academic integrity.
It is. And while our sources are very clear that submitting AI-generated work as your own is unacceptable.
Yes.
There's still a lot of gray area.
Right.
When it comes to using AI for research or brainstorming.
Right. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And it's tempting to rely on these tools to do the heavy lifting.
It is.
But where do you draw the line?
It's a complex issue and there's no easy answer.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I think it comes down to intention and understanding.
Okay.
Are you using AI as a tool to enhance your own thinking and writing?
Yeah.
Or are you using it as a crutch to avoid engaging with the material?
So it's okay to use AI for things like generating ideas, or refining your writing style, as long as you're still doing the core thinking and analysis yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like using a calculator to do math.
Okay.
It can speed up the process.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you understand the underlying concepts.
Right.
If you're relying on AI to do the thinking for you, you're not really learning or developing your own critical thinking skills.
That's a really important point.
It is.
So while AI can be a powerful tool,
yes,
we need to use it responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely.
And we need to be mindful of the potential pitfalls. Like if you're constantly relying on AI to generate ideas, you might start to lose your own ability to think creatively and independently.
Right. It's like anything else.
Yeah.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly.
So while technology can be helpful, it's important to strike a balance and not let it replace the power of our own minds.
Well said.
Thanks. And I think that's a perfect segue into our next topic.
Which is?
The importance of slowness in philosophical writing. Remember that article we mentioned?
Slowness as a virtue.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think its message is especially relevant in today's fast-paced world, where we're constantly bombarded with information and pressured to produce results quickly.
It is.
You're right.
Yeah.
And the author, Nicholas Burbules, argues that slowing down, taking time to reflect, and resisting the pressure for immediate results can lead to deeper understanding and more meaningful work.
So instead of rushing to crank out an essay the night before it's due, we should give ourselves the time and space to really wrestle with the idea.
Exactly. Allow yourself the time to explore different perspectives, to grapple with those complex concepts, to refine your arguments.
Yeah.
That's where the real magic happens.
It's like the difference between fast food and a gourmet meal. The fast food might fill you up quickly.
Yes.
But the gourmet meal offers a richer, more satisfying experience.
A perfect analogy.
Thanks.
And in the realm of philosophical writing, those richer, more satisfying experiences come from engaging deeply with the material, from wrestling with those big questions, and from expressing your own unique insights in a clear and persuasive way.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of slowness, the challenges of writing in the digital age, the nitty-gritty of logical arguments and avoiding fallacies.
Right.
I'm eager to get back to that fascinating college syllabus, PHIL 211.
Me too.
Okay.
It offers such a valuable glimpse into what it's actually like to take a course on philosophical writing.
Right. It seems like a really engaging way to learn about philosophical writing.
It does.
And I think you, our listener, will find it particularly insightful given your love of learning.
I agree.
Okay, so remind me again what stood out to you about this course.
Well, the emphasis on active learning and engagement really struck me. It's not just about passively absorbing information, but about participating in discussions, challenging ideas, and actively constructing your own understanding
And with a whopping 25% of the grade tied to discussion boards,
Right.
it's clear that interaction and dialogue are at the heart of this course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about creating a community of learners who engage with each other and with the material in a meaningful way.
Okay.
And the assignments themselves are designed to support this active learning approach.
You mean those journals,
Yes.
drafts,
Yes.
peer reviews,
Yes.
and the final argumentative essay?
Precisely.
Right.
It's all about developing those critical thinking skills, refining arguments through multiple iterations, and learning to articulate your ideas clearly and persuasively.
And let's not forget that unique twist.
What's that?
Students are required to create PowerPoint presentations
Oh, right.
to summarize their final essays.
It's an interesting way to bring together different modes of communication.
Yeah.
Presenting your ideas visually can force you to distill your arguments to their essence.
Okay.
And think about how to engage your audience in a different way.
It's like taking all those ingredients you've carefully prepared and arranging them to a beautiful final presentation.
I love that image.
Me too.
It really captures the essence of what we're talking about here.
Okay, so we've got the structure, the assignments, the emphasis on discussion and engagement.
Right.
What about the content itself?
Okay.
What specific topics are covered in FHL 211?
Well, this syllabus outlines a pretty comprehensive range of topics, starting with the foundations of logic and argumentation.
Okay.
They delve into different types of arguments, common fallacies, and the principles of sound reasoning.
So it's like a boot camp for your brain.
Yes.
Getting you ready to tackle those philosophical arguments.
Exactly. And they don't just focus on the technical aspects. They also explore the history of philosophical writing, examining how different philosophers have approached these issues throughout history.
So you get a sense of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
How philosophical writing has evolved and how different thinkers have contributed to the conversation.
Precisely.
Cool.
And they also delve into the ethical dimensions of philosophical writing, especially in the digital age. They discuss issues like plagiarism, the responsible use of AI, and the importance of developing your own voice and originality.
It's like a crash course in navigating the complex world of ideas and argument.
It really is. And I think you, our listener, would find it incredibly stimulating.
I have a feeling they would.
Good.
Now, one last question about FHL 211 before we move on.
Okay.
What about the final project?
Okay.
What's the culmination of all this learning?
The final project is an argumentative essay on a philosophical topic of the student's choosing. It's their chance to put all their newfound knowledge and skills into practice to develop their own original argument and to present it in a clear, persuasive, and engaging way.
So it's like their graduation ceremony from philosophical boot camp. They're ready to go out into the world and engage in those big debates.
Exactly.
I love it.
And I have a feeling they'll be well prepared after taking this course.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to that article on slowness.
Okay.
It seems particularly relevant to students who are learning to write philosophical essays.
Absolutely. It's about resisting the urge to rush the process, to take shortcuts, or to rely on easy answers.
So embrace the challenge of slowing down.
Yes.
Of wrestling with complex ideas.
Right.
Of taking the time to truly understand the material and develop your own argument.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to spend time reflecting, researching, and revising. The best essays are often the product of careful thought and deliberation.
It's like the difference between fast food and a gourmet meal. The fast food might fill you up quickly, but the gourmet meal offers a richer, more satisfying experience.
A perfect analogy. And in the realm of philosophical writing, those richer, more satisfying experiences come from engaging deeply with the material. From wrestling with those big questions. And from expressing your own unique insights in a clear and persuasive way.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've explored the nuances of philosophical argumentation, the challenges of writing in the digital age, and the insights offered by a real college philosophy course.
It's been fun.
It has. But there's still so much more to uncover.
There is. In our final segment, we'll delve deeper into the art of crafting compelling prose, exploring how to use language effectively, how to engage your audience, and how to make your philosophical ideas shine.
All right, we're back for like the final part of our deep dive into philosophical essay writing. We've laid the groundwork, explored the logic, and even peeked inside a real college course.
Right.
Now it's time to, polish our prose and make those philosophical ideas shine.
Right. You got it.
Yeah.
And luckily, our sources offer some great advice on how to write with clarity, style, and impact.
I'm all ears. What are some of the key takeaways that stood out to you?
Well, one theme that runs through all of our material is the importance of audience awareness.
Okay.
A good philosophical essay isn't just about impressing the reader with your knowledge.
Right.
It's about communicating your ideas effectively and engaging them in a meaningful way.
So it's not about showing off how smart you are.
Right.
But about making your argument accessible and interesting.
Yeah.
Even for someone who might be new to the topic.
Exactly. It's like being a good teacher.
Okay.
You need to be able to explain complex concepts in a way that's clear and engaging.
Right.
Even for students who are just starting out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that ties into what we were talking about earlier with using jargon.
Yeah.
It's tempting to throw around those fancy philosophical terms.
It is.
But if your reader doesn't understand them, your argument is going to fall flat.
Right. Clarity is key.
Okay.
And that means using precise language.
Yeah.
Defining your terms. And avoiding unnecessary complexity.
So simple and straightforward is better than convoluted and confusing.
In most cases, yes. But simple doesn't mean simplistic.
Right.
A good philosophical essay can be both clear and profound, engaging and intellectually stimulating.
It's about finding that sweet spot, right? That balance between rigor and accessibility, depth and clarity.
Exactly. And that's where style comes into play.
Okay.
It's not just about what you say, but how you say it.
Okay, so what are some stylistic tips that can help elevate our philosophical writing?
One thing Martinich emphasizes is the use of examples. He says examples can be powerful tools for illustrating abstract concepts and making them more concrete for the reader.
Right, because philosophy can sometimes feel very abstract and detached from real life.
It can.
Examples can help ground those ideas.
Yes.
And make them more relatable.
Exactly. But Martinich also cautions against relying too heavily on examples.
Okay.
He says they should be used sparingly and strategically to support your main argument, not to replace it.
It's like adding spices to a dish a little bit can enhance the flavor, but too much can overpower the main ingredients.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks. It applies to other stylistic elements as well, like metaphors and analogies. Used effectively, they can make your writing more vivid and engaging.
Right.
But overused, they can become distracting and even confusing.
Absolutely.
So it's about finding that balance.
It is.
Right.
Using those stylistic flourishes to enhance your writing without letting them overshadow your main points.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good rule of thumb for philosophical writing in general.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance between logic and rhetoric.
Right.
Clarity and depth, precision and engagement.
Exactly. And I think that brings us back to something we discussed earlier, the importance of slowness in writing.
Yes. That article, Slowness as a Virtue, really resonated with me.
It's a good one.
It's so easy to get caught up in the rush of things.
Yeah.
To try to crank out an essay as quickly as possible. But that often leads to superficial thinking and writing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Taking the time to slow down, to reflect, to really wrestle with the ideas.
Yeah.
That's where the real depth and insight come from.
It's like the difference between skimming a book and savoring it.
All right.
When you take your time, you absorb more, you make more connections, you develop a deeper understanding.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's the kind of writing we want to encourage, writing that's thoughtful.
Nuanced and engaging writing that reflects a genuine struggle with the ideas.
So embrace the messiness of the process.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to take your time and let those ideas simmer.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to circle back to one final point that's especially relevant in today's digital age.
Yeah.
Academic integrity.
Yes. The temptation to take shortcuts.
Right.
To rely on AI tools.
Yeah.
To plagiarize it stronger than ever.
It is. And that's why it's so important to remember the core values of academic integrity.
Which are
honesty, originality, and intellectual effort.
It's about doing the work yourself.
Yes.
Engaging with the ideas in a meaningful way.
Right.
And producing something that's genuinely your own.
Exactly. And while AI tools can be helpful for things like research and brainstorming,
Right.
they should never be used as a substitute for your own thinking.
Like using a GPS to navigate.
Okay.
It can help you get to your destination.
But it can't tell you what to do once you're there.
Right.
You still need to make your own choices, explore on your own, and discover things for yourself.
I love that analogy.
And in the context of philosophical writing,
Yes.
it's about recognizing that AI can be a tool,
Right.
but it's not a replacement for your own intellectual journey.
Absolutely.
The value of philosophical writing lies in the process of grappling with complex ideas, developing your own arguments,
Right.
and expressing your own unique insights.
Yes.
So, dear listener, as you embark on your own philosophical writing adventures, remember to embrace the challenge, embrace the process, and embrace the joy of discovery.
Right.
Don't shy away from those big questions. Don't be afraid to get messy in your drafts.
Right.
And don't let technology replace the power of your own mind.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, the world of philosophy is vast and endlessly fascinating. There's always something new to learn, something new to explore, something new to contribute.
So go forth and think deeply. Happy writing.